The Star Sport podcast is brought to you by Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, funding dreams for over 50 years.
Close your eyes and pull like a dog.
And a new Irish record for Phil Healy, 22.99.
Christy Cooney hands over the Sam Maguire Cup to Graham Canty, Cork All-Ireland champions for the 7th time ever.
So hello and welcome to another episode of the Star Sport podcast. I'm your host Matthew Hurley and I'm joined today as always by Star Sport editor Kieran McCarthy. The Star Sport podcast is brought to you in association with our friends at Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, where your bank really does matter. Choose Credit Union, choose local, choose community. Now on today's show we will be joined by Ballinascarthy Camogie duo Clara, Crowley and Siofra Patwell to talk about their county winning exploits in the last few weeks. But first we'll take a look at what's been in the headlines this week in terms of sport in the region. I suppose we'll talk about last weekend's results in later on here, but one story that was breaking this week was that the Munster Senior Football Championship league seating proposal, which was proposed obviously for 2026 with Cork and Kerry in the Munster semi-finals for the provincial championship next year, that's been postponed until 2027. So Clara and Kerry will be seeded in the Munster championship next year, with Cork having to take the quarter-final route once again like they have done over the past two seasons. I suppose, Kieran, a lot of complaints were made obviously by Clare, I think by Limerick as well, and that's ultimately why the Munster Council changed their decision over this. What's your general thoughts on it? Do you think that's a bit unfair of Cork in many ways, that they won't be seeded this year, considering the performance that Cork did in the championship last year, obviously getting close to Dublin, getting close to Kerry, obviously only losing after extra time. And when you look at Clare's record at the championship, it isn't that great. So I suppose you could say it's unfair of Cork, but at the same time, Clare had their own arguments too.
Yeah, I think what the Munster Council probably were trying to do is shake up the Munster Football Championship. We've seen the last couple of years, Matthew, where when it gets to the final, they haven't been great affairs. You know, Kerry have dominated this competition over the last couple of years, and it's only Cork, really, you could say, who've come close to kind of upsetting Kerry. Think back to their Munster meeting in the year just gone, and I'm even here now, just while we're talking, trying to find the last couple of finals. Like, Cork haven't been in a Munster football final since 2021. Okay, that's a day that Cork fans would rather forget down in Fitzgerald Stadium. But look at the last couple of years. 2022, Kerry beat Limerick 128 to 8 points. The year after, Kerry beat Clare 5-14 to 15 points. 2024, Kerry won again, beating Clare 23 to 113. And even this year's Munster final, Kerry won again and they beat Clare by 11 points. So the Munster final has become really, really predictable. So I think, from my understanding, what the Munster Council are trying to do was just kind of shake it up a small bit. And if you had a Kerry Cork, kind of that traditional kind of blue blood Munster final pairing, that would attract more interest and you could have a better game. Kind of just going on what I said there over the last couple of years. But when this was brought in about the seeding for next year, again, from what I understand, it was brought in after this year's league, so the counties had no kind of no forewarning that the league placings would have a bearing on the Munster format for 2026. So I think it's the right thing actually put a pause on it for till the 2027 Munster Championship. Just to be fair to the other four counties, Clare, Limerick, Waterford, and Tipperary. Of course, it's going to make Cork's journey to get to a Munster final that much harder. There is a chance that it could be another Cork-Kerry semi-final, providing Cork get past the quarter-final. But I think it's the right decision, and it's probably the kind of fair decision as well. Kind of, if you are going linking the league, how teams finish in the league, to the seedings in the championship, I think you have to give kind of counties kind of good notice of that. So I think in the end, it's the right decision.
It is, in fairness, it probably is the right decision in terms of just fairness for the likes of Clare and Limerick and Waterford and Tip. To be fair, Tip won the Munster Championship more recently in Cork, in fact, in 2020 as well. But I suppose not just from a Cork point of view, but from other counties' point of view with Clare, like you look at this year in particular, they were beaten in all three games across provincial finals and All Ireland Senior Football Championship games. Clare have played 12 games, they've lost all 12. They haven't drawn or won any game. But even not in terms of a Munster final, but in terms of sides that have done well in the league and done well in the championship. Look, I could think of Down, Offaly, Kildare, Westmeath that have done well over the past 2 seasons, and then Clare have taken their place in the All Ireland because of the Munster draw and how Clare have got the likes of Tipperary and Waterford with the greatest respect to those counties. Do you think that's a bit unfair on the likes of Offaly, Kildare, all those counties that they miss out on a Sam Maguire spot because of the Munster draw?
Yeah, I can see that argument too. I can suppose each province is trying to look after itself to make it the most attractive proposition that it can be. And that's what the Munster Council are trying to do. Like I was saying, is in we all kind of grew up on Cork and Kerry kind of heavyweight battles in Munster, and you'd love to get back there to some degree of a battle at some stage. And Cork have proved at various times over the last couple of years that they can go toe to toe with Kerry more so than the other counties, like you mentioned Clare's record there. Even looking like I said, it's the right decision to postpone this for 12 months. But if you look at next year's National League, Matthew, Cork are the only Munster county in Division Two. So if unless Cork are relegated from Division Two and Clare and Limerick go really well in Division Three, you're going to have the exact same situation this time next year, where you will have Cork and Kerry seeded, because Kerry obviously will be seeded because they're Division One county now. Even if they get relegated down to Division Two, we'll only have to have two Munster counties there. So, and you'll have the exact same position again this time next year. But what you have is a sense of fairness that all counties know. They know the starting line, what the criteria is going to be for the 2027 Munster Championship. So I think it's going to. I can, like I said, I can see the merits of trying to shake it up, because the provincials have been kind of, bar Ulster and a few shocks here and there, or like Leinster in the past season, the provincials have been kind of lurching from one season to next, just in need of that bit of something, that vavoom, just to kind of shake them from their slumber. So I think this is what the Munster Council are trying to do, and we'll eventually get there, but kind of in a fair way as well.
Yeah, exactly. It should be an interesting kind of few weeks, and as well as that, like the league fixtures, they haven't been officially announced yet, but they will be all announced in the next few weeks, probably in December as well. So Cork and John Cleary have that to look forward to, as well as the new intercounty season comes right around the corner. But first, there's obviously club games to finish off, and there's still a lot to cover, obviously, in November and December. And I suppose, first of all, we talked about Ilen Rovers in the county final last weekend, or in the Intermediate A Football Championship final in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. They drew against Ballinora 2-9 to 15 points, but Ireland were 2-9 to 13 points up in the last minute. And unfortunately for Ireland, a 3-up breach, and a 2-pointed free was given to Ballinora, which, to be fair, Neil Lorden took with aplomb. Obviously, a brilliant 2-pointed effort to draw the game level. But I suppose in the grand scheme of things, I know Ireland were ahead for most of the game, Kieran, but when you look at the grand scheme of things, Ballinora were probably the better team throughout the game. They had more shots. They had more goal chances. Damien O'Sullivan, and to be fair to them, produced a number of outstanding saves. And even when you look at Ireland's second goal through Dan McKeown, it was probably on the lucky side, if anything, as well. So look, it's kind of a mixed kind of thing for Ireland. They'll be disappointed that they let the lead slip, but at the same time, they know that they have a lot better to offer in the final two, in the final replay in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, and Ireland manager Flower Driscoll said as much afterwards. I think he was gracious enough to admit that Ballinora were the better team on the day last Sunday. And it was, like you said, it was kind of a strange one, Matthew, where Ireland were winning going into those last 9 seconds, kind of just almost had their hand in the cup, and then Neil Lorden came up with that 2-pointer to earn Ballinora the kind of second chance, earned them the replay. But it's the least Ballinora deserved, So like if Ireland had won the last day, kind of they wouldn't have minded the fact that they didn't play well, but the fact that they got a draw, they'll be very conscious of the fact that they didn't hit their usual heights. Okay, they started off strong, had a good opening quarter, but Flower will know that there's more to come from Ireland, and I think that could give Ilen Rovers encouragement going into the replay, and that's on Sundays, November 16th in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. I think it's a 1:30 throw-in. What'll give them room for encouragement is the fact that they have room to improve. They really have, kind of, if you're looking at both teams, Ballinora played quite well the last day and were unlucky not to win, but it just finished a draw, where Ilen didn't play near where they usually can or they would have expected to, but still got a draw. Okay, could have won it, but they still didn't lose the game. So I think there is that's a positive for Ilen, that they can improve. But the next thing is, that's one thing saying it now here on a podcast, but going out on the pitch and Sunday week and doing it is where it really matters. So I think we talked about it last week and we said, are Ballinora peaking at the right time? They've beaten Gabriel's, beaten Kilmurray, like they've taken out two good teams to get to the final, and they almost took out Ilen Rovers as well. So this is a really good Ballinora team. So I'm not saying that Ilen Rovers it's hard to open their eyes a bit, but they'll be fully aware of just what they need to do to beat a very good Ballinora team. So I think it sets it up for a really intriguing replay on Sunday week, with Ilen knowing that they have that room to improve, but they got to go out and do it now.
Exactly. So it will be a difficult ask for Ilen to go ahead and win the replay, but as they've shown, especially as Kieran mentioned there in the first quarter with the performance that they gave, they definitely have a right good chance to win that replay. That's on November 16th. That'll be the first of a double header with the Bandon hurlers, who were made to wait a lot longer for their hurling final against Bullock. It was actually supposed to take place on November 9th, but because of Bullock winning the Premier Intermediate Football Championship, congratulations to them, obviously beating Eve Lair 212 to 211. Their Munster Intermediate Football Championship quarter-final against Thurles Saracens and Tipperary Temple Toohey is actually this weekend. So their hurling final against Bandon is moved again to November 16th as well. So that would be, for Bandon, Kieran, that's between their semi-final win over Saracens' second team and the final, it'll be 6 weeks. It's a lot of time for Joe Burke's side to play around it in many ways. It is difficult for them. At the same time, though, Bullock do have their games, but the Munster Council can't really move games and things like that in the provincial championship. So it's difficult on Bandon, really, but it's kind of a situation where you can't do much else, to be honest, when Bullock are in football action as well.
Yeah, it's been it's been tough on Bandon to try and manage this period. Like you said, by the time the final is played on November 16th, it will have been 6 weeks since Bandon's last competitive game, and 4 weeks actually since the original county final was meant to go ahead, but that was postponed because of an orange weather warning. And since then, we've had kind of various deferrals because, like you said, Bullock are going so well. So for Joe Burke, it's been about managing this time and trying to keep that match sharpness there in his group, kind of waiting to play this game. Well, on the other hand, Bullock are after winning a county football title on the crest of a wave. They've match sharpness. They'll have momentum as well, They will, kind of even regardless what happens in Munster this weekend, they've been on a great journey on the football side of things the last couple of weeks. So you would definitely say it's advantage Bullock going into that final on Sunday week. But Bandon, they just have to play with the cards that have been dealt with them. Not been ideal at all, having to wait this long. Like you had a chat with Joe Burke for this Thursday Southern Star, and I think even mentioned it's going to, like, even to get challenge games at this time of the year, like a lot of clubs have just finished up, kind of even just to keep themselves ticking along. So hopefully Bandon have been able to kind of work on what they needed to work on and just kept the lads kind of just, like I said, ticking along for these last couple of weeks, and then that they can maybe cause a surprise on Sunday week. But yeah, it's certainly not been ideal for the Bandon hurlers.
Hasn't really, no, and hopefully they can go ahead and win the game against Bullock on November 16th, but it will be a tall order, as Kieran mentioned there, with Bullock's exploit in the football there as well, and they're going like a train and boat coach literally, so it is going to be difficult for Bandon to see how they win the game. There was a few West Cork clubs in county action as well in the junior grades, under 21, various grades around the county. Starting off, I suppose, with Kilmacabea, they beat Carbery in Newcestown last Saturday, 111 to 5 points. Probably not the greatest game of football. It was 1 point apiece after 25 minutes, but then Daniel O'Donovan gets a score, Damien Gore gets a 2-pointer, they lead 4 points to 1 at half time, and ultimately Daniel O'Donovan got a goal again, very like the Dan McKeown goal for Ilen. It was outside the 40-metre arc and it went all the way into the back of the net. So it was a weekend where that was always happening over it as well. But to be honest, it was comfortable enough for Kilmacabea. Donny O'Donovan probably would have expected a better performance in many ways. They play against either Charleville or Ballygarvan in a couple of weeks' time as well in the county semi-final. I suppose Kieran Doney will be happy with Kilmacbee progressing. There is a lot to work on, obviously, but worth noting as well that both of these sides were divisional county final action the week before this final as well. So there was obviously going to be a lot of tired bodies out there, but Kilmacbee get over the line.
Yeah, I think for like you said there, and that's a very important point, Matthew, the fact that both teams had won their divisional finals just a week earlier. I think even for Carbery, it was on Bank Holiday Monday, so they had a very short turnaround, and it was their first win in their division for something like 50 years. So I would imagine that win was celebrated and rightly so. But from Kilmackie's point of view, they've obviously been one of the dominant force in the Carbery division for the last number of years, and they're back-to-back Carbery champions again. Got to the semi-final last year, lost to Enniskeane, back in the semi-final this year, so they're back in the same spot they were last year. And this is a group that wants to win a county. They haven't hidden that. We were talking to Donny O'Donovan before the Enniskeane game last year, and he was kind of saying as much as in, like, kind of to take that next step, it's about winning a county. They've come close, go back a couple of years ago, lost the final up in Parky Ring. So now they're back in this semi-final again. They'll be kind of happy, content with where they are right now. Okay, like you were at the game on Saturday, Matthew, like the Kilmackbee performance, like it was nothing to write home about, but they got the job done, and I think that's what this game was about. Just after winning a divisional county, this is a potential banana skin, but they got the job done. Interesting to see too, and I think it's a good sign for Kilmackbee that there's different players standing up in different games. We all know about Damien Gore, like he's the ace in the Kilmackbee pack. But you'd Daniel O'Donovan the last day, getting the goal. I think he finished at 1-1 or 1-2. Go back to the Carbery final. You'd Ian Jennings kicking 9 points. I didn't even know that he scored last day. So you've different fellas standing up in different games, and I think that's good for Kilmackbee. They'll have to raise their performance level for the semi-final, which is the weekend after this. But they're where they want to be, and it's all hopefully it's all going to come together for them.
Exactly so, and Daniel O'Donovan was very good the last day as well. He scored 1-1 from playing, as well as that he won the 2-pointed free, which Damien Gore scored as well at the end of the first half as well, which pushed Kilmackbee even further ahead after that. And I was talking to Donny afterwards, and obviously Daniel did get brought off. He's obviously at the lower the end of his career in many ways, and he did get taken off early, and then they kind of lost their shape a small bit when Daniel went off. So like he is a key player, obviously, as you mentioned there. Ian Jennings, Damien Gore, Eamon Shanahan got in the score sheet as well the last day. So yeah, there are some very good players for Kilmackbee, and they've been at this for a few years now, and hopefully they can get over the line against Charleville or Ballygarvan, who will play this weekend, and then obviously the semi-final will be the weekend after that. One Carbery team that didn't progress, unfortunately, from their Junior A championship was the Ballinascarthy Hurlers. They lost against Kilshannig, 114 to 13 points. This was level at half time from what I was gathering here. I think it was 10 points apiece, and then Kilshannig got a goal in the second half, which was the sucker punch for Ballinascarthy in this game. And I suppose the fortunes of the Carbery champions in this competition continue to falter in many ways. Only Barry Rowe have won this competition since the turn of the millennium in 2007. So look, it's a tough defeat today for Ballinascarthy, but Kilshannig deserving winners.
Yeah, it was like you said, it was a very tight game, kind of right up to half time. Even the second half was tight, but it was a Kilshannig sub, Colin Ruby. He got the goal that just put his team in a driving seat. They were leading 113 to 11 points with 5 minutes left. But in fairness to Bell, they kind of kept battling back. Got a point. Killian Cullinan and Sean Ryan brought it back to 3 points with like 2 minutes to go, but he just couldn't get over the line. And we've touched on it before, is in Ballinascarthy as almost like Kilmackbee in a sense, is in Ballinascarthy have been very dominant in the Carbery Junior A Hurling Championship over the last number of years, but they just haven't kicked on and made that impression in the county series, and they'll be disappointed with that. But they can still reflect like they're back on top in Carbery, so it's been a really successful year for the Bell Hurlers, but that county is proving elusive for Carbery teams right now.
Exactly so, and Bal will be happy with the season, but unfortunately it has come to an end. Obviously, the IB and Gales footballers, they continue in their county in their under-21 championship. They drew against Kinsale after extra time, 1-13 apiece, and then IB won on a penalty shootout, which seemed like a thriller in that game there. And just see the clip go around of the IB players actually celebrating. One of the players was actually shaking the hands with the Kinsale players. So I thought that was brilliant. It was just a brilliant clip over the weekend. And it's a touch of class in many ways. Like you could easily celebrate a win like that, a penalty shootout win. It is dramatic. But to do that with a Kinsale team who really put it up to Iben in this game, like that shows a bit of class as well. But Iben are in the final now against either Beara or Douglas in the under-21A grade. So after winning Carbery, they're flying at the moment.
There, yeah, and I think that clip match, I could be mistaken here, and sorry if I am. I think that's Tommaso Bucla, the captain, who was going around shaking the Kinsale players' hands. Like you said, that's a touch of class because Donald Flynn was after scoring a penalty in sudden death in a penalty shootout for Iben to get through to their first ever county under-21A football final. So you'd have forgiven all the players for just going off and celebrating. So yeah, it was a classy touch by Tomas. But no, super result for Ivan Gales. They had a wait. I was at the Carbery under-21 final for the tremendous comeback and performance to beat Bantry Blues, who were the reigning champions. Then they had to wait nearly 60 days before they played Mallow in the quarterfinal and got over that. Now they got over Kinsale. And like you said, they're awaiting the winners of the Beara Douglas semi-final that's on this weekend. But just exciting times for Ivan Gales. And with the change to amalgamations too, we don't know what the future looks like for amalgamated sides like Ivan Gale. So they'll be quite eager to make the most of this opportunity. And when you have the likes of Owen O'Donovan and Luke Murphy, like two of the shining lights, like two class acts, two really talented footballers, it always gives you a great chance. So exciting times for IB, and wouldn't it be brilliant to see Beara get through? You know, kind of you'd have a West Cork County on the 21A football final, but Beara got a bye to the semi-final, and they're playing a Douglas team who's after coming off the back of a few games themselves. So Beara have it all to do, but they did get to the final last year. So yeah, we could have a touch wood. It'd be lovely to have a West Cork final to look forward to.
Hopefully so, and wishing Beara all the best of luck in the under-21 this weekend. Speaking of Beara, their Junior B champions Glengarriff also got through to the semi-finals. They beat Doneraile 3-11 to 2-11. A Callum McElhenney last-minute penalty, a 65th minute penalty, won this game. And I suppose for Glengarriff, Kieran, this is kind of a club that has been struggling for numbers in many ways over the past few seasons, as well as the Beara division, obviously. But to get a win in a county quarterfinal like that, that's a magnificent win for Glengarriff. And the fashion that they did it too with the last minute penalty, superb win.
Brilliant, yeah, and it's great to see Callum McElhenney knocking his brother Dara McElhenney off the headlines when it comes to the Southern Star. Dara's well used to the headlines over the years for his exploits on the track in cross country and so on. But the McElhenney clan are going strong in the football as well. You've a couple of the Dara's brothers playing for Glengarriff, and you're right. It's a super story for Glengarriff. You go back a couple of years ago, and we've written about it a fair bit in the Southern Star, talking to the manager Sean Hurley just about how Glengarriff were at a kind of a crossroads a couple of years back, kind of struggling to field, kind of struggling for numbers. But now look at them, they're after winning the Premier Junior Camogie Championship, and they're through to a County Junior B semi-final. So it's good times for Glengarriff. And even chatting to Sean Hurley after Glengarriff won the Premier Junior B, he feels that there's more in this team. You know, kind of he's hoping that they're winning the Premier Junior B football final replay this year is almost a stepping stone for what's to come next year. But what's not to say that they can't achieve something this year and they even try and get to a County Junior B final. So here we are, we're in November kind of, and there's still so many West Cork teams involved in various championships. If you look at the weekend after next, okay, the weekend coming up is a bit on the quieter side, but the weekend after next you'll have Glengarriff out, Ivan Gales in a final, Bandon in a final, and Ilen Rovers in a final, Kilmacabea in a semi-final. So for the middle of November, that's not bad going.
It isn't, and worth noting as well, Kilbrittain in the Munster semi-final.
How can I forget Kilbrittain?
Yeah, it's a brilliant time at the moment, and obviously we're at the depths of winter, but the action does continue, and it's brilliant to see. We'll take a quick break now, and after the break we'll be talking about another West Cork GA success story, and that's the Ballinascarthy Camogie team.
The Star Sport podcast is brought to you by Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, funding dreams for over 50 years.
So welcome back to the podcast, and in a while we'll be joined by Clara, Crowley and Siofra Patwell for the Ballinascarthy Camogie team as they won their second county title in a row. They won the Premier Junior County title last year, beating Milford in that decider, and they beat Sliabh Rua a couple of weeks ago as well in the intermediate final. So Ball will be actually the second tier of Cork Camogie next year in Premier Intermediate. It's a fantastic achievement for all involved there. And I suppose, Kieran, it's a brilliant achievement for Bal, the two girls as well, who were on the Carbery senior camogie team at the start of the year as well. They were part of that panel, as well as other Bal players, the likes of Billy Condon, Maura Barrett and all them as well. So it's just a fantastic achievement. And to be in the second tier of Cork Camogie, it's fantastic. Great to be in for Ballinascarthy, as well as that they're in with a few West Cork clubs in Clonakilty, Enniskeane, Newcestown. So stuff to look forward to next year.
100%. And like, momentum is such a real thing in sport. Like, we've seen it in so many different sports. Look at the Castlehaven ladies footballers over the years. Look at the Dunvan Rossa ladies footballers who kind of poured up through the grades. And Ballinascarthy certainly had momentum this year, kind of like you said, winning the Premier Junior last year, coming up into this grade this year and kind of powering their way through. And to beat Sliabh Rua in the final, I think they won 3-7 to 1-9. Sliabh Rua were actually the only team to beat Bell in the group stage, and that was by a single point. So it shows that Bell were the best team in that grade. You know, the only game they lost by a point, and then they came back and they beat that team in the final when it mattered the most. You know, so just kudos to everyone involved in Ballinascarthy. And you're looking at the final itself. Like, Maura Barrett was captain, fantastic. She got 2-3 that day. Siofra Patwell, who we're going to hear from soon, she got 1-4. You know, it's a team full of kind of budding stars, you know, and kind of established players. Like, you've likes of you're going from Martine O'Brien, who's obviously kind of ladies football royalty in West Cork. She was a Cork ladies football goalkeeper for so many years, like such a solid shot stopper, and she's still doing it for both Clonakilty footballers and Ballinascarthy Camogie. And then you've the likes of Millie Condon, you know, one of those kind of bright young stars of Carbery Camogie. She's involved with the Cork Camogie panel for the last number of years. So there's a lovely mixture in that Ballinascarthy team. And so just a huge congratulations to them. And it's something that means a lot to you, Matthew, because I don't know if a lot of our podcast listeners know you're a Bell man yourself, so you've been celebrating a lot these last couple of weeks between the hurlers and the camogie team. It's a great time to be from Ballinascarthy, I'd imagine.
It absolutely is, and momentum, as you said, is a massive thing. And for the girls involved there, I'm absolutely delighted for them. And knowing most of the team actually personally as well, it's just brilliant that they go on and win this county title as well. And I think just to plug Siofra and Clara's chat in a while, Siofra actually mentioned that Ball only conceded one goal in the entire championship, and that was the final against Sliabh Rua. It's a fantastic achievement, in fairness, and a great defensive record. And it's just brilliant for Ballinascarthy. Delighted for everybody involved there. Delighted for the hurlers as well and win the Carbery title. It's just good times at the moment, and you could see the flags and everything about in Ball. And the celebrations were massive on that weekend as well, where both sides actually played on the same day as well. So it's absolutely brilliant for Ball in so many ways. But we will hear from Siofra and Clara now, so enjoy the chat. So delighted to be joined on the podcast this week by Clara Crowley and Siofra Patwell after a brilliant year for Ballinascarthy Camogie, obviously after winning the county title at intermediate level. They're the second tier of Cork Camogie now for 2026, which is absolutely incredible for the club. I suppose, Clara, we were speaking about the celebrations and obviously the win off air there, but I suppose, has it really sunk in yet that you are county champions once again this year?
No, I don't think so. But, you know, any Monday morning you wake up as a county champion it's a very good Monday morning.
Exactly. So, and Siofra, for yourself, like it was a brilliant achievement for Ballinascarthy.
Yeah, it was actually. To be fair, like, it's no mean feat to do two in a row. Not to mind just winning intermediate. And I suppose, like, we started off just to take it as it came, and then we kept the momentum going once we got past Douglas, and we knew we could drive it on. Then we thought, even on the day, like, we thought we'd be second if we left it behind us. So
I suppose, Clara, like the celebrations, obviously last year was a brilliant achievement in winning the Premier Junior final over Milford, but this season over Sliabh Rua, like it was just a brilliant day overall for Ballinascarthy Camogie to win a second title in 2 years.
Yeah, I suppose Sliabh Rua were the team to beat. They were unbeaten in the round robin championship, and we had played them in that championship, and we had lost by a point. So when we went out to play them Sunday last week, we had a lot to prove. We had unfinished business, and we're delighted to come out the right end of it.
I suppose, Siofra, beating Sliabh Rua side that you did fall short in the group stage, only lost by a point in that game, but to beat a side that won every round robin game in the final like that, it was just a brilliant achievement for the whole club.
Yeah, it was absolutely. We know we had the beatings of them. Like we were sickened after the round robin game because we knew we kind of left it behind us a small little bit. It was a really good game actually now that I remember, but we left it behind us, so we were like, we'll take that hurt now and we'll drive it on here now, and we can get a win if we play the way we know we can play.
Yeah, I think Moira, she took us at half time. We were leading at half time, likewise in the championship game where we did lose by a point. And she took us aside, and I think she made one of the greatest halftime speeches that could ever be told. It would put the hair up in the back of your neck. And I think going back out into the second half, facing that wind, she had 30 girls that were ready to go to war with her. And I think that really made the difference in the end on the day.
You talked about Maura there, Clara. That probably just epitomises her as a captain. And I suppose the leaders in the team as well throughout the whole group. I'd imagine that feeds into the kind of team chemistry too.
Oh, for sure. Like amazing leaders. Maura was so deserving of the captaincy this year, and like to go out and captain the team in such a difficult championship where it was our first time up intermediate, and then to get player of the match on the day, it was so deserving to her, and we were all so delighted for her. It couldn't have gone to a better Ballinascarthy woman.
And Siofra winning the second title in 2 years. I suppose when you were playing with Ballinascarthy all through underage, did you expect there'd be years like this where county titles is almost the norm at this stage?
Well, to be fair, I played with a very good team growing up, the likes of Millie, and so on and so forth. So, like we had been playing in Class Road before, but never did we imagine that we'd be a part of a team that brought Ballinascarthy to Premier Intermediate, which is one away from senior at the end of the day, and it's only a small little place.
I suppose, going into the championship, Clara, you were promoted, beating Milford in the Premier Junior final last year, and obviously you were a newly promoted team. Did you honestly expect at the start of the season that this group was capable of winning another county title?
No one ever expected it, neither did we. But, we had new girls coming up, young girls. The fearlessness in them was just amazing. I suppose we had the few of us that had been around with a while, and we had the experience. But then we had these girls coming up, absolutely fearless, never say die attitude. And, it was a mixture of the two that got us through this year, because it was an unbelievable difficult championship. The way it was laid out was 6 games straight final, and the way it laid out for us was where we actually had 2 semi-finals, you could say. We had 2 do or die battles against Newtown Chandram and against Kilbrittain, and we came out the right side of both of those. And when you've great momentum then going into the final after only losing by a point to them in the championship. So we took on the young girls' mental of just being fearless and not caring, really.
So as Clara mentioned there, Siofra, the momentum really brought you through in those 2 games against Newtown Chandler, and especially in the West Cork derby against Kilbrittain Tibble League as well. So those were 2 huge games leading up to the final too.
They were, and we knew we had to get a result out of them, and we knew that if we played well enough that we could get a result. I know, there'd be hurleys flying against Kilbrittain the whole way up. We knew that we had to perform to get a result out of them. And you know what? The girls were brilliant that day. I don't think any of us pulled out of a tackle. We all knew that we wanted we wanted that win, and we got it.
And with yourself, Clara, you're part of an illustrious group, as mentioned in the paper over the last few weeks. 17 county adult medals between yourself, Martine O'Brien, Maura Barrett, Kate O'Donovan and Michelle DeLay. Nice record to have, I'd imagine.
There's a nice ring to it, all right. Yeah, I suppose it's testament to us as players that stuck at it. Times were tough back along. Like nowadays, it's where are we going to put the county trophy, whereas back along it was where are we going to get the few players to field the 15. And we stuck with it, And, it's testament to our trainers as well. Like Aidan, Kevin and Claire had a great group with the last 2 years. We had 30 players on the panel. We had a winning momentum, but, that wasn't always the case. And, it was great to have trainers like Michael Patwell, William McCarthy, Mickey Mack and Francis O'Driscoll, who really kept us in the loop. They really encouraged us to stay going. And, this county title is as much ours as it is theirs, as it is to any girl who ever wore the Ballinascarthy jersey. And, it was lovely to bring the cup back to the hall that Sunday evening and celebrate with those as well.
And for yourself, Siofra, you have a nice kind of record as well. Out of the last two finals, you've got a combined 1 goal and 8 points, 1 goal and 4 points in the final a few weeks back, and then the Premier Junior finally got 4 points. So nice bit of scoring there.
Yeah, I suppose I can't take all the credit for it. The ball needs to come to me, and thankfully, I put it over the bar in the back of the net. So I suppose we had brilliant backs. We only conceded 1 goal, and it was in the last 5 minutes for this campaign anyway. So I have to give them most of the credit, because otherwise I can't do what I do if they don't do what they do.
With all the elements in the team, Clara, I suppose, the experiences you mentioned there, the youngsters coming through, the defenders, as Siofra mentioned there, conceding only 1 goal, the attack as well, who are absolutely flying this season. And I suppose that kind of backs to the wall kind of an approach where you want to fight for your teammates as well. I suppose all those elements does combine into a great kind of a great kind of team for Bal too.
Yeah, for sure. Like, we had 30 girls on the panel this year, and every single one of them played out of their skin. They all played their part, and it really was, like, I'm not just saying, but it really was a panel effort for us this year. And I suppose you don't win county titles with 15 players, you win them with 30. And if it wasn't, it was great support from the sideline as well. We had great management this year, and it all just came together in the end, and we're here with 2 county titles in 2 years, and we're just delighted to have been part of the journey for Ballinascarthy and bring them. We did bring them from Junior B up into Premier Intermediate, and it's a lovely statistic to have.
Yeah, I don't even remember the last time that we didn't have less than 20 at training, which in previous years was like, it was amazing to have the 20, even double digits at training. So like this year it really was, as Clara said, just a panel effort. Like anyone could have came in and slot in, and they would have done the job just as good as whoever was there before them.
And you mentioned, Clara mentioned the trophy wins there, and obviously getting promotion after promotion, Siofra. Like, could you have imagined in your wildest dreams that you'd be in the second tier of Cork County Camogie in 2026?
No, not at all. I suppose we knew, like, if you look at the caliber of players we have, we could, but never did we think, well, for me anyway, I didn't think we'd ever get it there, to be honest. It's a small little place, Ballinascarthy, and there's a load of different catchment areas. So we're kind of pulling from all different directions, but I've been playing with these girls since I was nearly 8, I'd say. So it really does help that we have a good team spirit. And I think that kind of won us the championship this year anyway.
I suppose for yourself, Clara, like, did you expect that Bal would ever be in the second tier of the county championship?
Well, I suppose, Matthew, you could only dream, really. But that dream has become a reality, and it's testament to our underage as well. Like, our underage structure is just brilliant, and to see the girls coming up in the last 2 years has just been amazing. And for the underage girls at the moment who have followed our team this year and saw the 2 county finals, if we could encourage one girl to pick up the hurley for the first time, or even to pick back up the hurley, we've done our job as senior members of the club, and that's something great to have.
With encouraging the next generation, I suppose, Siofra, I know county titles are absolutely incredible, but encouraging the next generation, as Clara mentioned there, of the younger generation of Ballinascarthy Camogie players, that's brilliant for yourselves to be kind of role models for them.
Yeah, it is, and I'll always go back to the one we won last year, and all these little girls and boys coming up and asking me to sign their slitters and their hurleys, and like, it just made their evening, even just to go around to all these players that they have seen on the pitch. And if I could just say that if one girl was like, oh, I want to be able to hit the ball like Siofra does, or I want to be able to run as fast as Millie, or work as hard as Clara, then I have my job done anyway, I think.
And I suppose on the same day, Clara as well. Obviously, the men's juniors won the Carbery Junior A title as well. So for two teams to win championship titles on the same day, that was special, I suppose, for the community as well, and the celebrations afterwards.
Yeah, it was historic before we ever stepped onto the pitch. For both teams to be in their championship finals was amazing for such a small village, like Siofra says. But I suppose there was a fixture clash on the day that we couldn't do anything about. So we knew with a week prior to it that they were clashing. So it just came down to, your individual performance, your team performance, and then as both teams to bring back the cups to Ballinascarthy. I think maybe 10 minutes to go in our county final, we got word that the lads were after winning the West Cork, and it will give you that last push to hold on. There's something here. We could do something amazing for our little community back at home, and thankfully we did hold out, and we did have an amazing night in the hall where we had 2 cups up on the stage with 2 amazing teams, and we had the whole community out in front of us, and it was just genuinely such a lovely moment for everyone involved.
And I suppose to be at front and centre of the whole community for the teams itself, for like it must have been pretty special in a kind of celebratory kind of evening.
Yeah, it was. It definitely was. I think it brought the community together so much. Like I was talking to people there, and they were just so happy for all of us, for both of us. It was a great day for the parish, as you'd say, but it was just amazing. Like the hall was full. I don't think I've ever seen it as full, and there was flags and cheering and waving, and it was just a lovely moment. One I'll remember for a while, I think.
And even earlier this year, Clara, yourself and Siofra both played for the Carbery divisional side of the senior championship. Do you think that kind of being part of that team has brought you on as players, and maybe some of the ball players as well, the likes of Mar, the likes of Millie?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we love playing senior camogie with Carbery. We have great pride in our Carbery division in West Cork. To play with your teammates, your schoolmates. We're a very tight knit community in Carbery, and there's always a lot of pride when you put on that jersey. And hopefully we will wear that jersey in the near future again.
I suppose for yourself, Siofra, like you were part of that team as well, it must have brought you on a lot as a player too.
Yeah, to be fair, as a player, like all I want is game time. So if I can get more game time by playing with Carbery, then that's what I'll do. And it's a test as well. It's a higher grade. It's past your pace. Like it's just, I have no bad thing to say about it. Like I love playing with my teammates, and then with people I had gone to school with and probably haven't had an opportunity to play with since. And I suppose, yeah, as Clara said, it's a tight knit community, and we all just work for each other.
You probably haven't thought about this with all the celebrations and winning 2 county titles in 2 years, Clara, but I probably have to ask you this, like the general expectation for Premier Intermediate next year. What are you hoping to achieve in that grade next season?
Yeah, I suppose we'll keep the head on the shoulders now, and we'll regroup coming into the new year. It's going to be a challenge, but we only thrive on the challenge and the competition. I suppose we've new sponsors coming on board with us next year, All Fresh Wholesale. So Barra, Susan and Holly Sweetenham, who have been great supporters of the club, have provided us with new gear and new jerseys. So, hopefully we can do those jerseys justice in the 2026 season up in Premier Intermediate.
As Clara mentioned there, new sponsors, kind of a new era, new grade of Camogie, Siofra, a team that's thriving. Like you take with Premier Intermediate with Storm, I suppose.
Hopefully now, yeah, we'll just go from strength to strength like we did last year. I suppose we just need to keep the momentum going. We get a good preseason in, have a good solid league campaign, and then we'll see how we are come championship. Hopefully we'll be able to compete and do well like we did this year.
Good stuff, good stuff. Yeah, thanks to both of you, Clara and Siofra, for your time on the podcast this week. And obviously, best of luck to Bal for next season in Premier Intermediate. The good times are rolling in Ballinascarthy.
Yeah, indeed. Long may they last. Thank you.
The Star Sport podcast is brought to you by Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, funding dreams for over 50 years.
So it is that time of the week again where we look at what's in this Thursday's Southern Star Sports section. And what should our readers expect this week, Kieran?
Yeah, it's packed again, like we were just saying earlier. Like we might be in November now, but there is no let up in West Cork sport, which is good news for all our readers. So obviously we've covered from all the games of the past weekend. Ilen Rovers and Ballinora, the draw in the county final. Bullock beating Nivlera in the Premier Intermediate final. Reports from Ivan Gale's semi-final win, Kilmackabey's quarter-final win, Ballinascarthy's quarter-final loss. Also, Brentford Blues bowed out of the Junior B Hurling Championship. John Murphy was there for us last Saturday. So we've all that. And also in Mid-Cork, there was an absolutely epic Mid-Cork final replay where Dunamore came from 7 points down with 4 minutes left to end their 14-year wait to win the Mid-Cork Junior football title. So that's well worth checking out. On top of that, I caught up with Larry Tompkins, the Castlehaven and Cork GA legend, to have I was supposed to check in with Larry, and he's been very open recently about his battle with cancer. So it's a very open and honest chat where Larry talks us through where he is now, what he has been through, what the future looks like. So I think that's well worth checking out and well worth reading. Also, as well, taking the Southern Star down to Australia, New Zealand, we catch up with the Barry Roman David Kiley, who won man of the match in the recent Australasia interstate finals when Auckland won the intermediate title. And there's a lot of West Cork connections to those particular championships, so that's well worth checking out. We also have a 2-page spread on the recent West Cork Ski Skull Hurling and Camogie finals, which are exciting as always. It's rugby season 2. Rugby is going quite strong at the moment, and Matthew, you've caught up with David Shannon. He's the Skibbereen rugby captain, to chat about their start to the season and what he hopes the next few weeks will bring. Last weekend was a very special one for a Clonakilty man, and Conor Ryan, who came up through Clonakilty Rugby Club. He made his debut for the Munster rugby team. And also Abby Salter-Townsend, the former Skibbereen ladies rugby player, recently picked up a West Cork Sports Star Award for her role in Munster's Interpro success. So we have that too. And there's more. The first ever West Cork League game was played on the new Junior Rangers AstroTurf pitch at Cannon Crowley Park, and John McCarthy was there for us, and Paddy Fien as well, while as Junior Rangers A beat the B team, and the A team now go clear in the Premier. And also we catch up with Kilmac Simon Rowing Club, who won the Teddy Burns Underage Cup of the Year at the recent Southwest Rowing Award. So I chatted with Aoife Collins, their chairperson, just about how important their youth system is, kind of that conveyor belt for Kilmac Simon, that they're bringing through all these young rowers who will go on into the adult side of it. So yeah, as you can see, Matthew, there's loads of reading as usual in this Thursday Southern Star.
Packed as usual, isn't that the case every week? And as usual, if you are further afield or can't make it to the shops, you could subscribe to the Southern Star e-paper and get the Southern Star on your laptop, tablet or phone. Just go to www.southernstar.ie/subscribe, enter your details, and you'll get an exact replica of the newspaper for less than €2 per week. As always, thanks for listening to the Star Sport podcast, and thanks again to our sponsors at Access Credit Union. If you've enjoyed this, please remember to rate, review and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll be back again next week. Until then, take care.